State fans, we just got our clearest look yet at how this program is going to operate under new head coach Matt Campbell. And if you only saw the headlines from his recent press conference, you missed the actual story. Because this wasn't a coach trying to win a press conference. This was a coach explaining how to rebuild a major program in the modern era. And there are a few themes that kept coming up over and over again: alignment, foundation, character, and patience. So today we're going to walk through the most important parts of this press conference, not just what Campbell said, but what it actually means for Penn State football over the next year. Campbell opened by thanking everyone for their support and calling the last 2 months a whirlwind. That is not surprising. New job, new staff, new roster, portal movement everywhere. But what stood out wasn't that it's been hectic. It's that he repeatedly framed the chaos as intentional. He said they've made roughly 55 additions between players and staff. That's massive turnover. But he kept coming back to one idea. We didn't waver from what we want this program to be. He didn't talk about schemes first. He talked about values. Young men who love football, love Penn State, value education, and have character. That tells you something important right away. This isn't a short-term patch job. He's trying to set a foundation. And when you hear a coach say foundation, this many times it means year one is about structure, not flash. When asked how this compares to taking over at Toledo and Iowa State, Campbell gave an honest answer. The landscape is completely different. Portal, roster turnover, recruiting speed, all of it. But he didn't complain about it. He said it's not positive or negative, just different. That's a big deal, because the worst thing a new coach can do in 2026 college football is fight reality. Campbell isn't doing that. He's adapting. He also said something really important. He doesn't have all the answers. That might sound basic, but in college football, that's actually rare. He said Iowa State taught him that you have to understand what's already there before deciding what to change. So what's he doing now? Evaluating, learning, then building. That's not a coach trying to install a system overnight. That's a coach trying to build something that lasts. One of the most revealing parts of the press conference came when Campbell talked about the next few weeks. He said that's when the real work happens. Not in games, not in press conferences, in winter training. He called this time of year the dark days nobody sees. And he's right. This is where teams bond, leaders emerge, standards get set. He said fall will test whether they've truly become one team. And he kept repeating that phrase, one team. That tells you what his biggest concern is right now. Not playbooks, not depth charts, unity. When you bring in 40 plus transfers and new staff, your biggest risk isn't talent, it's fragmentation. So Campbell is clearly prioritizing alignment before anything else. He also gave one of the best quotes of the entire presser. Culture is not words. It's how you live, act, and carry yourself. That's not coach speak, that's a philosophy. He's saying culture is behavior, not slogans. Campbell called Penn State's history and alumni network this program's superpower. He said the greatest gift is those who came before. That's a smart move because Penn State is a program built on tradition and continuity. He talked about wanting former players involved again, wanting alignment between past and present. That's how you stabilize a transition. You connect new leadership to establish identity, and it's clear Campbell understands that. When asked about offensive coordinator Taylor Mauser, Campbell praised his growth and fearlessness, but the key phrase wasn't about offense, it was about team football. He said there will be games you win 9-7 and games you win 43-42. That tells you exactly how this staff thinks. They don't want to be one-dimensional. They want to be adaptable. Complementary football is the goal, meaning offense supports defense, defense supports offense. Situational awareness matters more than stats. That's a mature philosophy, and it fits a program in transition. Campbell also talked about attending a wrestling match and a hockey game at Beaver Stadium. He called them the two greatest collegiate events he's ever seen. Why does that matter? Because he's seeing firsthand the scale of Penn State's support, and he's using that as motivation for the team. He said players need to understand what they represent. They only get 12 guaranteed Saturdays. That's a coach trying to connect environment to performance. Campbell had a lot to say about quarterback Rocco Becht. He said the quarterback and head coach have to be tied at the hip. That's a strong statement. He's telling you Becht isn't just a starter, he's a leadership extension of the head coach. Campbell praised Becht's toughness, leadership, academics, and ability to win close games. He emphasized character repeatedly. That tells you Becht isn't just a transfer addition, he's a cultural centerpiece. Campbell described the search for a defensive coordinator and how they landed on D'Anton Lynn. He said Lynn was the first name that came up. He wanted someone who understands Penn State, wants to be at Penn State, shares the vision, develops players, and he also emphasized Lynn's versatility and ability to adapt. He talked about multiplicity. That's the key. Campbell doesn't want a rigid system. He wants a defense that adjusts to personnel and opponents. He summed up his philosophy with a simple formula: players, formations, plays. Put players in position to succeed, then let them win. Campbell was very direct about the transfer portal. He said it's his responsibility who comes into the program. He called the process exhausting, but he also said they focus on evaluating their own roster first. Who's staying? Who fits? Then they built around that. And here's the line that mattered most: we cannot take talent without character. That's the guiding principle. Not just talent, not just production, fit. That's how you avoid roster chaos in the portal era. Campbell talked about retaining former Penn State players on staff like Dan Connor and Trace McSorley. He said Connor gets it immediately. Called him Penn State football. He said Trace has leadership traits similar to Becht. That's strategic. He's blending outside hires with internal culture carriers. That helps maintain identity during the transition. Campbell said he's a big reliever in spring practice and wants the team in Beaver Stadium before the season. He doesn't want the first snap in front of fans to be week 1. That's preparation. That's situational awareness. He wants players comfortable in the environment early. Campbell also ran through multiple position groups and emphasized competition. Quarterback room has depth. Running back competition with Carson Hansen and James People. Tight end strength with Benjamin Brahmer and Andrew Rapley. O-line leadership from Anthony Donka. Defensive line size and depth. Linebacker leadership from Tony Rojas. Safety toughness. But he also kept repeating, we have talent, but we have to grow it. And he emphasized one thing over and over: who can be trusted in key moments? 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, goal line. That's how he's evaluating players. Trust. This press conference wasn't hype. It was a blueprint. Matt Campbell told us this is a foundational year. This is about alignment. This is about character. This is about building a team that can grow. He's not promising immediate dominance. He's promising structure. And if Penn State gets the structure right, everything else can build from there. So the real question now is simple. How quickly can this group become one team? Because that's clearly what matters most to this staff. If you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe to Saturday in Happy Valley and let me know in the comments what stood out most from Campbell's press conference, because this was just the beginning.